Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and this past weekend I hosted an OP08 case tournament for the One Piece card game. It was over 100 players, and I'm really happy we were able to do it. It was a lot of fun, and honestly, we had a really good turnout too, so I'm really happy we were able to make that work. So if you guys want notifications for future tournaments, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and you get notifications for my community post, and I also post it on my website and on my Discord as well, which is linked in the description. Also, if you guys want any of the deck lists for this event and many others, including the Song event, Mexico regionals that happened this past weekend. I'm not going to go over these deck lists in this video, but this is a big regionals that happened this past weekend as well, so you can check that out on the website if you want any of the deck list. And then lastly, Sleeve Chief has a new product drop for these Berserk card sleeves and deck boxes. Make sure to check them out. I think these are really sick, especially like the metal on the outside of this deck box is pretty unique. I think they do a good job at making a lot of unique deck boxes and designs, and they really go all out. So make sure to check it out. You can use my link in the description and my discount code the Egman for 5% off, and there's also a bunch of other items that may catch your eye as well, so definitely give it a shot. So anyways, going on into this event again, we did have 115 players. This was 7 rounds of Swiss best of 1 into a top 8 best of 3. This also was live stream, so I do want to shout out Strongest Wizard for being my co-commentator for it. I do appreciate it. If you guys want to check out the videos, they are linked in the description for Twitch and YouTube, and it'll be re-uploaded to YouTube in the next couple days for free if you guys want to watch it, just edited down to the main matches, so if you want that. But again, if you do support me on Twitch and YouTube, I do appreciate that too. And then lastly, I do want to shout out our 2 judges for the event, Human and Risu. I would not be able to run this event without them, so I do appreciate them being able to work it with me as well. But again, 115 players, 7 rounds of Swiss, top 8 best of 3, and in the top 8 we did have 2 Luffy Star Deck 13, 2 Nami, 1 Rob Lucci, 1 Bonney, 1 Doflamingo, and 1 Star Deck 14 Luffy. So a good amount of variety of different leaders. We did have 6 leaders in the top 8, and then 4 leaders in the top 4, which is pretty cool. So I do know that this is a meta where obviously a lot of people are continuing to identify how strong 8-drop Moria is, and I won't deny it. It was 50% of the decks that were in this top cut for us, but I do want to think like there's a lot of diversity outside of that as well, and the fact that it's split across 3 leaders instead of just 1 leader does help a lot. But I won't deny the power of the card. I'm not saying like it's not incredibly powerful right now, but that's just my it is uplifting to see a good amount of diversity. And also for the leader breakdown, since we did have that, we did see that black decks were just over 50%, with them taking like Rob Lucci, Star Deck 13 Luffy, and Star Deck 14 Luffy. Then we had Bonney, Reiju, Zoro, and Nami, and then 26 of others as well. So a moderately good amount of diversity. There was a good amount in the other, there were just a lot of singletons and 2-ofs, but it is clear to me that a lot of people, most decks in the format right now are people playing decks with Gecko Moria. So I hope you guys know that I identify that as well. But we're going to go over our top placing list for this tournament, starting off with Koty's first list for the Donquixote Doflamingo. And I know that he's been working on this deck for a while. Definitely one of his favorites. When I first saw him play this game, he was playing Emporio. So he's always been a blue player, I think, at heart. And so Dofi's been pretty good. Obviously, we get a lot of support in Star Deck 16 is the one he gets, right? Whatever one it is, maybe it's 17, but without it, we still do have our good cards. Jinbei is still fantastic for this deck, being able to use it to play another card out, and you can play it off our leader effect. So leader effect to play 2 bodies, especially when the second one is an Edward Weevil, which lets us draw a card, is great value for the deck. We do play 3 copies of Pudding. We do play 2 Jozus. This card was actually really strong for the weekend. I would almost consider bumping up to 3 or 4 copies if I was Koty, just because there are so many times when you had like a 1-drop Peroni you played early that says this: on play you may return one of your characters other than this card to your hand. Return up to 1 6-cost or lower character to original owner's hand. So it's great for getting rid of Sabos, even though they can play it again next turn. It just gets it out of their board. There's a lot of just good tempo when you're already a tempo deck. And like, sure, like you played Jinbei last turn, you had it attack, whatever. You can bounce it back to your hand to play another one later, and also just get their reverse tempo. So I think that's a really strong card for the deck, and it helps out a lot. Other than that, we do have the Gum Gum Rain. We do have the Femur, which, spoilers, is really helpful in the finals for the semifinals rather. Gum Gum Red Rock as well as the Raging Tiger. So really solid deck. It's going to be interesting to see how it shifts with the new cards, but I think Koty's a fantastic player, and a big congratulations to their first place finish with the Donquixote Doflamingo. Next up, you've got Nami. So that's right, we did have a blue finals. This is the run-up. This is John's version of the list here, and honestly pretty standard. I think the biggest ad that I've seen from this one that I don't see in many others is the Boodle. So just a blocker that on KO you get to trash the top card of your deck. So it's kind of like a cheaper and worse version of Marguerite, but it is also an East Blue. And I think part of the reason we added this in was because we are playing 4 copies of Opus. This seemed to do very well for John for this event, being able to just have like another 2K, but also just being able to help you cycle out, like find your Kaias a little bit more often because it's East Blue. And half of our deck are East Blue cards, and they're all fantastic, right? We've got Kaya, we've got the Boodle, we have the Mr. Hanger, which is super important if you're playing the mirror match. You want to find this card as much as possible. We also do have the Usopp Rubber Band, we have the Gavel, and then we also have the Sanji's Peel Off. So like you'll see, like all these cards are fantastic. You want to see all of them. None of them are really dead. And I think being able to help you find cards in the mirror match, I think, and have another card that's more proactive than defensive helps in those kind of scenarios too. So this is John's deck. Congratulations for their finish with Nami. Next up, we have the Monkey.D.Luffy. So this is Abraham's top 4 version of the deck. And again, we've mostly don't add any cards from OP08 for this deck. Most of the people are rotating through what cards they want in the main. We do have 4 Kuzans, which I think this has been pretty standard since OP 7.5, that at least 3, likely 4 copies of this Kuzan. It's just a great card on curve, and then also being able to get some cost reduction later for your Rocket Luffy is fantastic. We also are playing 2 copies of the 10-drop Kuzan, which is I don't know, I get over it, right? Like I don't like this card personally, but it definitely, if you want to try to help yourself in some Bonney matchups, it's great as long as they don't drop Moria, the 9-drop Zoro on curve, because that still is very scary. I think Ice Age helps you with that too, giving -5, which means that your Luffy can get rid of a 4 cost. So that's what that can be. 2 copies of the 3 Brothers Bond, and then 2 copies of the Finger Pistol, which I've been enjoying this card for it as well. So generally, the rest of this deck is pretty standard. We also are playing the Sabo, so that does make a difference, especially since if we have 10-drop Kuzan out, we can play this card and we can get rid of a 10 cost, which is great. But you know how Black Yellow Luffy's kind of looking like right now. It's been pretty standardized and definitely more on like the pilot side for it. So this is Abraham's build, and congratulations for their top 4 finish there. Next up, we've got Star Deck 14 Luffy, and I've been a really big fan of this deck. I think it's really helpful for what this meta is kind of looking like, and in general, I think that it's going to be pretty strong. Maybe not as good as Lucci, but kind of taken the spot of what Gecko Moria was before this. So we're playing the Navy package, which I think is really standard for the deck right now, which means we have the brand new, we have the Kuzan, we've got a lot of 2Ks, including the Suru, the Tashigi, as well the T-Bone. So the combination of cost reduction and removal is great. 2 copies of Borsalino. We're also playing the Sabo. We're playing Sanji, which I still think that Sakazuki is better than Sanji if you're playing the Navy package. It's just like one more card that you can hit, and sure, you have to like lose 1 card out of your hand for the 6-drop effect, but it's just better in the fact that you get to be a 6-drop 7K. You're not playing this card with less than 6 Dawn anyways, and the removal is just as good, essentially. So I think that's kind of my like having a 6/7 body on the board a little bit later, especially since you turn into a 7/7 with your leader effect, just helps a lot. But then we have the Jack, we have the Gekomora, and my favorite, I really like the Kaido in this deck. I think it's fantastic. It helps a lot of kind of tricky situations sometimes, and it's great for like the Black Yellow Luffy game. It's also great for like Nami sometimes, because you can pop like a Kaya and make them discard a card. Like there's just so much like I think this is a really good matchup breaker for the Black Yellow Luffy. So really big fan of this card. I'm happy to see it in there one. And then also we see the Laboon, which is a bit of a niche ad, but I think this is great for a deck like the Lucci, where you do need to get more cost reduction. So activate main, you can rest this character, give it to one character, one of your opponent's characters -4 cost during the turn. So it's definitely a better card to synchronize with your Gecko Moria, in the sense that, you know, you could play Kuzan off of it, but Kuzan's not going to give you that immediate cost reduction. Meanwhile, Laboon can. You can just play it active and then rest it. So being able to do that, and then afterwards use Jack, so you can get rid of a 7 or less, or if you had Suru, you can get rid of a 9 or less. that's some really great removal on being able to play some big bodies and stuff. So I think that's really helpful for the deck, and I definitely have to try it out in my own builds too. But that is the build here, and congratulations to Christian. James for their finish with the Star Deck 14 Luffy. And then next up, moving on to Christian's deck, we are playing the Rob Lucci. So obviously these two decks do run a lot of similar tech cards, but there are more of the Cypher Pool edition for the Rob Lucci. The big tech card that I see is the Uta for this one. So this character cannot be KO'd in battle by leaders, and then activate main. You can rest this character, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost during this turn. So it's an interesting add. I'm curious to see what was the reason to add this over maybe like more copies of Helmeppo or more copies than Suru, but being able to play this early and then later, like for example, you could play this on 2 and then you could use it with Rob Lucci next turn, right? The fact that it's an activate main ability is great, which means you can also pair it with your Jack pretty well too, which I think is great. We are playing our Cypher Pool cards, so we have a 2/2 split of Kaku as well as Who's Who as our 2Ks as well. And then just kind of the rest of the regular package for the deck. So I think Rob Lucci's been very strong. Clearly the most popular deck that I've been seeing people play right now. It does, I still think, have some consistency issues, but man, if they can play 2 Morias back to back, they have the strongest 8-drop Moria, I think, in the game right now, and it's pretty disgusting. So this is the build here. Congratulations to Christian for their finish with Lucci. And next up, we've got Bonney. So this is Christopher's version of the deck here, and I've been a big fan of this deck in this format, even though this version's not playing any of the cards that I personally like for it. I like the Rosie package with the carrot. I think that helps a lot in some matchups, but obviously this is still like a tried and true list of like the 50-50 between the Supernova and the Donquixote Pirates. We do have our top end of having 3 Zoros, 2 copies of Kid, as well as 3 copies of Donquixote Doflamingo. We have the Hody, we have the Basil, and just like a really big top end. So most people have kind of walked away from the Useless Captain Kids build just because of the removal, and I don't feel like there's as much low to the ground aggro decks as general. Obviously, I still think it does a lot of work against decks like Zoro, if those are more common in this meta, but I haven't been seeing this as much, so it's interesting to see it still added for this one. So other than that, I think this deck has been doing very good. Bonney still, I think, present in this meta, and congratulations to Christopher for their finish there. And the last up, we did get a 1 unique X2, so this is Zoro. This build is by Robert, who was able to get, I believe, 22nd with it. Yeah, 22nd. So, but still an X2 record, so could have jumped on into the top 8 potentially with better tiebreakers. And this has been pretty standard from what I've seen as well. We do have the Animal Kingdom package, so we have the Tony Choppers, the both 3 drops, the blockers, as well as the 3-drop from OP08, so this is play an animal type character with 3k power less from our hand. Being able to go super wide with cards as well, like the Super Spot build, Duck Troops. We can also play out the Hiking Bear or the Robson. And this card being able to get Rush as well is pretty nice too. So in general, I think this, and then our top end, we have 2 copies of Dragon, is also the Silvers, which this has been an interesting add. I've been seeing this pop up a little bit more. Just kind of having like a late game card. It also means that we can trade into things really well if we need to, since we have a lot of low cost bodies on the board already. So and then like it's just like I haven't tested the card myself, so I would have to try it out, but I think it's an interesting add. Dragon make obviously a little bit more sense, or like a little bit more, 1-for-1, right? It's a big card with Rush and an aggressive deck, so it makes sense from there. So, and then we do have 2 Luffys and 2 of the Jambes to make sure we get around blockers. So I think this deck can still terrorize a lot of 4-life leaders, especially if you're able to be aggressive enough against black before they get a lot of removal for you. Them going down to 1 or 0 life just means that you're just waiting until you draw your Jambe or your Luffy to go for game. But I think this deck is still pretty viable right now, maybe like a half step lower than what I thought maybe like a week ago, but I think it's great, and it's still doing well, and it did top the event in Mexico as well. I did get a top 8 finish there too. So anyways, this is the build here from Robert. Congratulations for their X2 finish, and that's going to be it for me. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for supporting these events. I really do appreciate that too, and I think they're awesome. And again, if you guys want to watch the live streams, they're for YouTube members and Twitch subscribers respectively. Link to the description, and it will be re-released in the next couple of days, edited down to just the matches so you guys can watch it as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.